Happy Saturday, beautiful people. Yesterday was the first day I noticed YouTube messing with the views on my channel. I know I don't get that much, but I track everything, right? The video, the first day we started reading the book of Judgment, right? I was shocked. I'm like, oh, people must be looking for this. Because, topics, these are like, the title of this, like, book of Judgment is like a hot topic, even amongst Christians, right? Anything got to do with the book of Revelation, stuff like that. Rapture, people always Googling it if it sounds similar to this because they're trying to see what's going to happen in the last days. And I realized when you say book of Judgment, they kind of almost sound like the book of Revelation. Oh, shoot, what is this? Let's look at the book of Judgment. So I noticed yesterday, well, day before yesterday, I noticed that the first video that we did with the book of Judgment, the video views was like at 225. I'm like, dang. I'm like, and that was within a day. Yeah, I know it's a low amount, but for this channel, for that, I was like, okay, the topics are still hot in the Christian realm, right? And not just with the Christians or whatever, looking for like things in the revelation and in the end times and stuff. But even Hebrew brethren and sister too, right? I was like, okay. I was like, well, I must have fell within the algorithm, the topic, because I use the hashtags and the tags for the video and all that stuff. I must have got caught up with those videos and more people are clicking on it. I was like, okay. So when I came back a little bit later to finish putting in the stuff I normally put in, like what we read for the day, all that in the description box, they had sliced them in half. I'm like, wait a minute. Now I know this was just at like 225. They dropped it down. It was interesting because they dropped it down to 187. I'm like, that's quite interesting. So I'm like, I see what people be talking about. Not that that's the only time, but I mean, it was a nice little chunk. But I'm like, okay. So I really don't know what to do. Besides from continue tracking like I do just to verify, no, this day it was here, it was this. I literally track everything, So, but it was just interesting to me. But anyway, Nene, shalom, shalom. Belinda Brown, grand rising, another day, another chance. Yes, and amen. The Nat, shalom, global purpose, peace, grand rising, family. Jamia, shalom, shalom. Kendra, shalom. Hannah, shalom. And everybody else hanging out in the background. Y'all, it is Saturday. Happy Saturday. It is October the 1st, 2022, day 227 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets and of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1245. And we are still in the book of Judgment today. And we're picking back up on page 675. Yep, 675. Nope. Yeah, 675, chapter 12. All right, y'all. Set apart, grand rising, grand rising. Hold on, y'all. I'm already getting hot. I need to take this little sweater off. I'll be right back. I gotta change my shirt. Okay. Sometimes it be freezing down here, and I ain't even matching. I'm just whatever. All right. Father, we thank you that you are extremely detailed, so detailed that you correctly see the end from the very beginning and how everything gonna play out. That's why you always keep your cool about everything. All right, y'all. Here we go. Chapter 12. Real look, I noticed that with some of the channels too that I've been unsubscribed to. That's wild. That's wild. Right? Anita, shalom, shalom. Okay, y'all. All right. Chapter 12, page 675. O man, remember thy creator and praise him. In this thou art graded by thy God. Who see, I'm sorry, who see not him are weak in spirit, who see him in all things and hear his voice in the leaves and in every herb are strong in spirit. These are the grades of the resurrection of the souls of men. For what is the earth but a folding nest, and the possessions of the earth but chains of bondage? The heavens rest upon the earth, the place of the Easian. Going out here this morning. Okay. Verse 5. My heavens rest upon the earth. The place of the Easian is in my keeping, and the places of the grades of my heavens have I adjusted according to the inhabitants thereof. I people the heavens of the earth with the spirits of the dead, according to their grade in their corporal lives, so do I arrange them, to provide them unto everlasting resurrection, and make them to rejoice in their being. These are the labors of thy God. For the beasts of the field, and the birds, and the fowls of the air, and for many animals that are companions to man, made I a place in heaven where their spirits should survive for a season. And this animal heaven I graded one in order of my heavens. For I saw that man on earth had delight in them, and I provided unto him and his easy and I provided unto him for his Easian period, that he might rejoice in the remembrance of finding his loves. And I made the animal heaven to rest on the face of the lands of the earth, even as the same even the same as the place of the Easian in grade one. Remember, O man, thy creator gave to every animal a season on the earth, but he limited them to a time to become extinct. Even so, and of like duration, made I a heavenly period for the spirits of animals and for the spirits of animals companionable to man. But for man I provided heavens above, where he should rise as to place, even as he riseth, as to goodness and knowledge. Magnify thy perception, O man, that thou mayest comprehend the kingdoms of thy God. Behold the example thy creator set before thee in the fashion of the earth. In large bodies he placed the lands, in large bodies he placed the oceans, not in little hillocks of land and little puddles of water. Even larger than these are the divisions, and after divisions is plateau. Even larger than these are the divisions, plateau of the heavens of thy God. The heavens of the earth are separated by atmosphere and oceans. I fill not the air of the firmament with angels scattered about, but I give unto them regions habitable and homelike, and I grade them suitable to the resurrection of the spirits of the dead. Consider the work of thy creator and the knowledge and symbols he placed before thee. Thou holdest up a lump of salt, and it is solid and of dimensions, but cast it into water, and it is seen not, but dissolved and lost as to thy perception. And thou beholdest the earth, which hath dimensions also, but the earth thou seest not. As water is the solvent, so is earth to corporal things the solvent. By slow velocity holdeth the solid earth its form, yet in external to the body of the earth, the swift velocity of corpore is magnified into dissolution. By vortices in F are these things accomplished. In the atmospheric regions which rotateth with the earth, behold, there are many plateaus larger than the earth, being habitable heavens belonging to the earth. Their component parts are like unto the earth, and they are adapted to the abode of angels, even as the earth is for mortals. And after mortals is reference number 19. And 19 at the bottom says, in the atmosphere of the earth, there is sufficient corpore to make many worlds like this habitable earth. And this corpore, which is in solution as to mortals' eyes, floateth in the firmament of the earth, in continents wide as the earth, and deep as the earth, and there are thousands of them. The entire verse 20 has been rewritten. Okay. So I read it again. Okay, so what I just read in a footnote was in a previous version and it's completely rewritten here. Okay, I read it again. Verse 20, page 675. We're in the book of Judgment, chapter 12. In the atmospheric regions which rotateth with the earth, behold, there are many plateaus larger than the earth, being habitable heavens belonging to the earth. Their component parts are like unto the earth, and they are adapted to the abode of angels, even as the earth is for mortals. And yet, O man, these are but the atmospheric heavens. These are the dominions given into the keeping of thy God. These are my kingdoms and my heavens for a season. As thou, O man of the earth, sailest thy ships abroad over the ocean, and coming to a new land, going ashore, dost settle thy people thereon, and it becometh a new kingdom. Even so doth thy God in the heavens of the earth, in the plateau of this vortex. Remember the magnitude of thy Creator's works, and the symbols he set before thee. Where the clouds float high, it raineth not. Where they drag on the face of the earth, it raineth daily. Consider the habitations of the resurrections of the dead, which are in the keeping of thy God. Even as to the square of the distance away from the earth, so are the grades of my resurrections. According to the exaltation of man's soul, so shall he inhabit the places. So shall he inhabit the places I have made. According to his own soul's growth and development, so shall he ascend in my kingdoms outward away from the earth, grade unto grade, adapted I them. Chapter 13, we're on page 676, y'all. Shayla, hey girl, hey. O man, to know the creations of thy Creator and the things he hath placed in thy reach, to apply thy knowledge and understanding with reverence. Let me go back, I'm sorry. To apply thy knowledge and understand with reverence the work of his hand. How considerate of thy little wisdom and thy love of liberty, which he gave unto thee. Even before he had perfected thee, he called out unto thee to behold his creations. And thou tarriest not to learn, but ran away, half completed, to vent the exuberance of thy soul, which he gave unto thee. Behold me, thy God. I am thy elder brother, which he sent after thee. Come thou and learn wisdom of thy God. And I like how, although this is true God speaking on the throne, he always reiterates at the beginning of each one of these chapters that I am thy elder brother, right? And I'm just passing the word from our Father down to you. Mom, shalom, shalom. I'll read it again. Chapter 13, on page 676, verse 5. Behold me, thy God, I am thy elder brother, which he sent after thee. Come thou and learn wisdom of thy God. Thou tarriest in the grave, thou art not aroused to know thy Creator. Thou turnest back to me and sayest, behold, there is no God. I beseech thee, turn about and hear the wisdom of my words. I will teach thee to know thy Creator, to hear his voice, and to see his hand, and thou shalt rejoice in thy life, and teach thy brethren to rejoice also. Thou hast a corporal body and a spiritual body. Hear me, and I will open thy understanding. Thy spirit hath eyes and ears and judgment. Nevertheless, the beginning of thy two parts was at the same time quickened into one person because of the presence of thy creator. Read that again. Okay, make sure I understood. Thou hast a corporal body and a spiritual body. Hear me, and I will open thy understanding. Thy spirit hath eyes and ears and judgment. Nevertheless, the beginning of thy two parts was at the same time quickened into one person because of the presence of thy creator. Okay, the two parts quickened at one time, the flesh and the spirit being quickened. You know how now we realize, well, me, I'm gonna just use me. Now that I realize my spirit, although my spirit is separate from my body, it's quickened and it's in sync together, whereby my spirit is beginning to lead my flesh and as I'm connected to the creator, right? Okay, but read it again. That was good. Verse 9. Thou hast a corporal body and a spiritual body. Hear me, and I will open thy understanding. Thy spirit hath eyes and ears and judgment, just like our flesh does, right? Nevertheless, the beginning of thy two parts was at the same time quickened into one person because of the presence of thy creator. O man of the earth, would that thy spirit and thy corpore stood even in wisdom and power all the days of thy life. But thou art so delightful in the earth, thou hast left thy spirit unfed, and it standeth within thee as a spear of grass covered with a stone. Wow. And thou seest not spiritual things, nor hearest the unseen, for a stone lieth upon thy soul. Yet thou hast great learning as to corporal knowledge, and great vigor as to corporal judgment. And thou ratest thy neighbor a fool, because forsooth, in contradistinction to thee, he heareth and seeth spiritually. And thy God weepeth for thee, because in the time of thy death thou shalt stand in heaven in grade one, even as the spirits of the beasts of the field. I was about to say, like my daddy said, good googly moogly. Thy present knowledge shall be void, and thy vigor only as a newborn child. And my angels, who are wise and strong, shall take thee about in Hara, the heavenly plateau that resteth on the earth, and divert thee with things proximating betwixt the two worlds, that thou mayest be made to comprehend thyself and thy Creator's work. As thy corporal was fed on corporal substances, so then shall thy young spirit be fed on atmospheric substances, which thy guardians shall provide unto thee. Consider the wisdom of thy Creator, who sent me to fetch thee into places of delight. Oh, that I could take thee to the highest heavenly places, that thou couldst stand before me and talk face to face. But even as a newborn child is unsuited to feed on corn and nuts, thy spirit is as a starveling in high heaven. And I take thee to the nurseries where I have provided for thee according to thy weakness. Thy mother was provided unto thee before thou wert born, and my heavens arranged before thy spirit entered therein. Thou shapest not thyself in thy mother's womb, and behold the perfection of thine every part. Oh, that's so beautiful. I gotta read this again. That's just like what we read in the Bible about no man even knowing how the bones are formed in a mother's womb, right? This is beautiful. Oh, look, this ain't got nothing to do with the price of tea in China, but I just thought about it again. Then I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna read this. I was thinking, right? So I was thinking about how we can clearly tell there are some things that are true in the Bible, but everything else has been shenaniganized and things added and taken away from, right, to deceive people. But you don't really find that out unless you read it enough to where questions start popping up, right? Everybody here for the most part been down that road and we figured that much out. Look, so I started thinking about this the other day. Every time we read about the brides and the bridegrooms, right? But we also, the first time, at least from my view in life, the first time I heard about bride and bridegrooms and the resurrection of bride and bridegrooms is from the Bible, right? And in Revelation, and the father's coming back for they say a church without spot or wrinkle, a bride and bridegrooms without spot or wrinkle, right? So there is a portion of that that is true. Once we have the information that is missing from here, I read, and y'all heard me say before, even when we was just reading through the Bible, going through it line by line, page by page, right? I'm like, this, because I began to realize that once I began to go outside of the Bible into the Apocrypha and some of the other books, filling in some of the information and looking into history of Constantine and all that, I was like, the Bible is like a compilation and cliff notes of other pieces of the story, and it's condensed so tight together that they make it seem like it's one like fluent type history, and it's not. It's a bunch of little pieces taken from a whole bunch of different places and put together into one thing. I figured that much out while I was still just reading the Bible and going into the Apocrypha and stuff, right? Well, I even heard that there was an Oahspe. But about the bride and the bridegrooms, that part stands true, but they have a misunderstanding of the bride and bridegrooms, because if you go into church, they think, oh my gosh, like we're gonna rapture. The Father is gonna rapture us, or Jesus is gonna rapture us out of here, and we become like we're making ourselves without spot or wrinkle while we're here on earth, not even comprehending that we have to go through the levels of the heavens to further develop and clean our spirit, right? Because even here in Oahspe, it says that those who are bride and bridegrooms, right, that comes, they get to leave with the Ethereal host that come down to get them. So there is somebody that's coming back, right? But it's not down here at our level. You have to progress through the grades, and once you completely progress through the grades, through the earth, corporal, grade 99, then you start progressing through the heavens. Once you to get to the very top, you can't even graduate as a bride and bridegroom until you are washed completely clean through and through, because there's nothing but purity in the grades of Etheria, right? Etheria. So that part, I was like, okay, that little part is right, but they're looking at it the wrong way. They don't even count in the education of the spirit, right? So I'm just reading through it, thinking about it, just thinking about different points where I can, because different people come ask me questions, right? And I still got a lot of Christian friends, people that still love the Bible through and through, right? And I really don't take issue with it, right? But now as I'm going through Oahspe, and I'm looking for uh the keynote, so to speak, right? Something that we can agree upon, right? That they may see there and they hold tight to, like the bride and bridegroom. I think that's a point we can hold tight to. Over in Oahspe, I can shed more light from what I've learned and my understanding on how the understanding over here of a bride and bridegroom in Christianity, how it's incomplete, right? But if you add that, if they can hear you enough where you can teach them that your spirit has to be developed as well, not just your flesh, they might be open to more wisdom from the creator that we find over in Oahspe. And Oahspe is not the here all be all this it, because this is just only one source where the creator has downloaded information that's lacking in other places, right? Each people has a different piece of the puzzle, different piece of the truth, right? We just found another portion of truth, and we're going through testing it, right? Things from scripture that we found and tested to be true, we can keep that. Everything else ain't good for none but the fire. Burn it, and I'm here with the matches. Look, right? So we're finding truth in everything. But I thought about that again while I was reading through this, right? So the bride and bridegroom portion, if that part can be taken out from the scriptures, along with all the bride and bridegroom things that we find on Oahspe, there is a better, a more complete understanding. And I think that'll also kind of help them kick that habit of of just sitting around just waiting for something to happen to you, right? It'll get you more involved in uh, your own salvation, so to speak, developing yourself, not just your spirit, but also not just your flesh, but also your spirit, and the way that they begin to interact with brothers and sisters, right? So we got to find like agreeing points of truth from our creator that we can build upon and develop one another. That was really interesting. I think I'm gonna pull out all the bride and bridegroom portions from Oahspe and put all that together. And I might do like a little video with that and the scriptures, unless somebody already did that. If somebody already did that, please share, right? But I think that'll be a good topic. Put all those together. All right. Tabitha, Grand Rising. Okay, let's go back. I know I told y'all that didn't have nothing to do with the price of tea in China, but I just thought about it again, you know. Okay. Page 676. We're in chapter 13. Let's go to verse 19. Okay. Consider the wisdom of thy creator who sent me to fetch thee into places of delight. Oh, that I could take thee to the highest heavenly places, that thou couldst stand before me and talk face to face. But even as a newborn child is unsuited to feed on corn and nuts, thy spirit is as a starveling in high heaven. And I take thee to the nurseries where I have provided for thee according to thy weaknesses. Hey, babe. Thy mother was provided unto thee before thou wert born, and my heavens arranged before thy spirit entereth therein. Thou shapest not thyself in thy mother's womb, and behold the perfection of thine every part. Trust thou in thy creator, but seek thou also to go with him, and thou shalt attain easily to the highest places he created for thy glory. And after places is reference number 20. And at the bottom, 20 says mountains, right? Okay, so go back up. Verse 24. Oh, that thou hadst not contaminated thy corporal part by the flesh of the beast and the meat of his living creatures. This is as one of the stones that covereth up thy soul and blockadeth thy way to the upper grades. I'm going to read that again. Oh, that thou hast not contaminated thy corporal part by the flesh of the beast and the meat of his living creatures. This is as one of the stones that covereth up thy soul and blockadeth thy way to the upper grades. If anybody here has ever just, and I said this quite a few times, this is something you can test, right? Go on a fast from all meats, right? Do it for 30, 40 days. If you can't go that long, try for 21, right? But I say try it long enough to where the meat can start. Well, shucks, you're gonna have to do a few cleansing just to make sure it's all out of your intestinal tracts and everything, right? But I would say at least just take 30 to 40 days away from it. Shucks, if you bad, go 60 or 90, right? Or test it even for a year if you have the wherewithal and you really want to know the truth, right? Listen, you can test that, because when you stop consuming flesh, you are spiritually dull in ways, and some things you just cannot comprehend. It's impossible for you to comprehend because you have flesh inside of your flesh, and that should not be, right? And remember, and although even some of the Hebrews or those that keep to kosher diets or follow the Levitical laws, they talk about not consuming blood, but there is no way to cook meat to where all the blood is going out of it. So not only are you consuming flesh, but you are also consuming blood, right? Test it. Stop eating it for a period of time. And even write down, track your results on how your body feels. You're going to start going through a little detox phase. And even if you have head fogginess and uncertain about some things, all those things begin to clear up. And even after a period of time, a love for nature begins to develop on the inside of you. Even if you ain't like animals before, even a love for animals will begin to develop on the inside of you. That's just something I noticed about me, right? I'm just saying, y'all just gotta try it. Y'all gotta try it. Elijah Grand Rising. Abba girl, shalom, sis, shalom. Okay. I'll read verse 24 again, page 676. Just test it. If you haven't gotten that far, I promise you won't be you'll love it, right? And even if you go back to eating it for a period of time, not saying that you should, but some people they take a little bit longer to wean themselves off, right? But after they've done it and they realize the clarity that they had, they began to crave for the clarity, for the cleanliness that they felt when they were there. And they eventually do wean themselves back off, right? So at least test it. That's giving yourself like a little head start and something to cling on to. And it'll begin to reach after that. And you'll be constantly reminded of it, right? I'm telling you. Oh, that thou hadst not contaminated thy corporal part by the flesh of the beast and the meat of his living creatures. This is as one of the stones that covereth up thy soul and blockadeth thy way to the upper grades. Thy young spirit must remain within the atmosphere of the animal creation for a long season, like unto like, that hast thou fashioned thy spirit to the flesh of thy body according to the atmosphere of things, as to purity and sweetness, behold, thy Creator hath fashioned them in relative ascent above the earth. That which is impure resteth on the earth. That which is pure is upward awed high. And after that which is impure, after impure is reference number 21. And 21 at the bottom says, stinketh. That which stinketh resteth upon the earth, right? Y'all got to stay down there, my G, so y'all can learn how to bathe, not just your flesh, but your spirit. Ain't nothing but purity up here in earth. We ain't having none of that up here. Y'all work that out down there. We give you multiple grades. Matter of fact, we need to separate the stank from the higher heavens, so none of that seeps through up here. So handle it down there on earth and first resurrection. Get rid of it. You will not get any higher stanking. If you stanking, you is not coming above first resurrection, my G. But I love chili dogs so much. Well, you can love chili dogs and stay down there, and you can haunt your family for a while. Listen. Okay. Let me read 24 again. Oh, that thou hadst not contaminated thy corporal part by the flesh of the beast and the meat of his living creatures. This is as one of the stones that covereth up thy soul and blocketh thy way to the upper grades. Thy young spirit must remain within the atmosphere of the animal creation for a long season. Like unto like hast thou fashioned thy spirit to the flesh of thy body according to the atmosphere of things, as to the purity and sweetness, behold, thy Creator hath fashioned them in relative ascent above the earth. That which is impure or stinketh resteth on the earth. That which is pure is upward awed high. Consider the places of the hells of the spirits of the dead, and the weapons of warfare in their hands. As corporean is to corpore, so is the spirit as to the atmosphere of the earth. O man of the earth, consider what thou puttest into thy mouth, for the atmosphere thereof is the food of thy spirit. Let me read that again. O man of the earth, consider what thou puttest into thy mouth, for the atmosphere thereof is the food of thy spirit. Oh, okay, I get it. Okay, so you know how, like, when you would just use, okay, so you know in the Bible when they doing the sacrifices and stuff, and the sweet smelling savor, the sweet smelling aroma that comes up, that feeds the disembodied spirits, or those spirits who get stuck on earth and in the first resurrection. Those are the things that feed them, right? And if you understand that and the false gods, you would realize that no creator, which is only one, right? Our creator, and all of those in the more cleanly heaven, the more clean heavens, second and above, that would be absolutely disgusting to them, because that, although it may smell good to us, you put some seasoning or something on it. But now, even now, I've gone through a phase where all meat stinks, no matter how much you season it. It reeks to me, right? It absolutely stinks. But you will realize that those are requirements of those who have fallen away from the Creator, which is why they're telling you slaughter animals and even humans, babies, and all that stuff, because they're fed off of the stench of rotting bodies, right? And even if you cook it, put it on a flame or whatever, the atmospheric portion of that flesh is what they're fed upon. Even when you cook meats and stuff in your house, the atmospheric portion, the savor that comes from it, whether it's flesh, It goes to the spirits and hada, those who are stuck here on the earth. But living foods, the atmospheric portion of that also not only feeds those spirits, but also your very own spirit, right? So you're inoculating your not only your flesh, but your spirit, even with the savor of those things, right? That's what it's talking about. Okay. What you doing, little boy? Get out of there. You hungry? Okay, first of all, I need you to go clothe your body. You can't walk through the house with drawers on, baby. My grandbaby's here. Okay. Thy young spirit. Hold on with my cup. Hold on. That's good. I'll start right there. Verse 25 again. Thy young spirit must remain within the atmosphere of the animal creation for a long season. Like unto like hast thou fashioned thy spirit to the flesh of thy body, according to the atmosphere of things, as to the purity and sweetness. Behold, thy creator hath fashioned them in relative ascent above the earth. So the sweetness, the smells, or whatever it is, that the foods or the things that you cook or things that can be eaten, the savor that those things give off, that's the atmospheric portion. And it feeds, not like I said, not only our spirits, those who still have our flesh bodies and spirits attached together, it also feeds the disembodied spirits, those who are fully born into spirit, whether it's a sweet savor or it's the rotting flesh or the cooked flesh of whatever it is you cooking. According to the atmosphere of things, as to the purity and sweetness, behold, thy creator hath fashioned them in relative ascent above the earth. That which is impure or stinketh resteth on the earth. That which is pure is upward awed high. Consider the place of the hells of the spirits of the dead, and the weapons of warfare in their hands, as the corporean is to corpore, or the flesh to flesh, so is the spirit as to the atmosphere of the earth. O man of the earth, consider what thou puttest into thy mouth, for the atmosphere thereof is the food of thy spirit, and the habit thereof will be entailed on thy spirit for a long season after thy mortal death. Wow, I like that. So if you still haven't kicked the habit of eating flesh, eating meat, and this is no jab against anybody, because everybody gotta walk through these levels, right? Especially if you were raised eating meat, you gotta learn how to grow yourself, right? So if you died eating meat, that says to me that you're gonna be stuck here on earth or in the first resurrection for a long time until your spirit is purged of that, right? And if you've eaten, you got a plant-based diet, your spirit is just lighter. You can rise fast and you're not attached here, because flesh attaches your spirit here to the earth realm and to the first resurrection, right? Some of these things, like if I some things just really cannot be understood, especially like if you're still eating meat. Like I said, some things you really have to understand by the spirit. And those of us who have had a lot of spiritual experiences, even in the church days or wherever you come from, have experiences with otherworldly entities. A lot of these experiences that we know beyond of a shadow of a doubt, that we know there is another entity here other than me, right? We know that there is some validity to a lot of these things, right? If thou hast been, verse 29, page 676, if thou hast been a gross feeder on flesh, thy spirit will seek to linger in the atmosphere of gross feeders still dwelling on the earth. The slaughterhouse and the cookhouse and the eating house shall be the places of thy spirit's resort. Why? Because the atmospheric portion of those foods, the sweet smelling savors from these sacrifices, your spirit can feed upon, right? Listen. Hold on. You said something about candy and soda. I'm still trying to break myself free from candy. What you just said? Look, Yeah, look, it is. Now I'm very picky about the types of candy that I eat now. But oh, let me just go back up. Let me go back up. Hold on. Vanette said, when you stop eating meat, you can hear better and smell those who eat meat. Yeah, look, that is so true. Remember when I told y'all? Look, I told you it's been like definitely a few weeks. Actually, I think we were in a hotel. I think we were in a hotel waiting for the house to be ready when that whole thing kicked in. Was it? Or maybe it was before. Remember, I was like, y'all, everything is stink. Like when I walk past people, I can smell the meat in their gut. It's like flesh. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was like, I need to walk around with my mask on, not because of vid reasons, but because people stink, right? And they could have showered, got on perfume, and don't normally stink, but people I didn't normally smell before, it was like I could smell your insides. I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe I just with me being plant-based and my system being clean more, maybe I just went up like another level of, I don't know what you want to call it, but my senses became extremely sensitive more than they previously were, and I can smell people, right? So when I go out to the store now, it's like I really have to not keep my distance because of COVID, but keep my distance because I can smell you. And they like, and I asked a couple of times, I was like, do y'all smell it? They're like, no. I mean, it smells like normal. Like if you pass by Burger King, it's like the flame grilled and stuff. It's like, oh man, it smells like a cookout. That smells good. Somebody cooking some ribs. No, I literally want to puke, right? So I was like, I can completely understand this because I recently just went through that, right? I remember I haven't seen Jen, but I know she popped in and out. She was saying that her in-laws, when they had come to stay with her and her husband for a couple weeks, because they had been plant-based for a while, they had to stop cooking meat in their house, right? Because it would affect them. They couldn't stay in the house because of the smell of the flesh. Like your senses, they switch over to another type of being able to smell some, right? And I kid y'all not, I used to think, y'all see, people make fun of people. They call they. This is no disrespect to anybody, right? But on social media, sometime there was this video going around where they said the Karens, it was a Karen out there. They called her a Karen because where she lived at, her neighbors were having a cookout, and she was bold enough to go ask them could they not have the cookout because the smell of meat was bothering her. I mean, you can't tell nobody not to cook out at their own house on their own property. If it was that bad, she actually called the police. I'm like, sis, you can't really do that. I mean, if that was me, I was just like, okay, y'all had to cook out. We're gonna just go on. We're gonna leave for a little while, whatever. Because there's not really anything you can do about that, right? But sometimes I used to think they were like overly extra, like, oh my God, that stinks. But now I realize what they're talking. I used to laugh. I'm like, y'all are doing too much until my senses clicked over and I'm like that. I mean, I don't be doing the most like, oh my, don't eat that around. I don't be doing that, but I'm like, oh my God. I'll just remove myself from the situation because I know how my body is reacting to these things. Now I'm like, man, this is terrible, right? I'm like, how could I have eaten that before? But yeah, going plant-based, it does, and you can tell the process as your body is cleaned out because it's not just your insides and stuff, but your senses also get purified as well, right? Gloria said meat is in a lot of products, and she said candy, soda, they just use a different name. Jamia Shalom, sis. And the set apart said that's why I don't drink soda or eat candy. It's what they have a list. It's a few different lists. If you got Pinterest, you can go up there and you can put you can just kind of like type that in, and there's people that already got little charts and stuff made with the pictures of the different things that have meat and meat byproducts in them, right? Doritos, some of your big name brands have meat byproducts in it. They use different names. You have to be aware of those different names that they use, just like the different names that they have for yeast, right? It's in everything. But I would eat candy. I eat but I would eat candy. Gonna make some peanut butter cups. I love peanut butter cups. I really do. That's my vice.
It was small ones at first.
It was the small ones at first, and then it's the big ones.
Tell the
Look,
story how you had to go get bags. You was getting bags of them.
listen, babe. Who telling this story today? No, no. But I did. Peanut butter cups is my vice. I was. You know how they got the mini peanut butter cups? I would get them. And my husband kept this little refrigerator in our room because everybody in the house liked peanut butter cups. Or at least I didn't think they did till I started getting them. Everybody was sneaking our room into our little refrigerator, into the bag, taking 2 here, 2 there. When I come back to go get me some, it's like 4 left in the bag. And I'm going off like, who been in my room eating my peanut butter cups? I'm like,
she was like that. She was doing that. Like,
and when I realized, Pam, this is a problem. I should not be snapping off about peanut butter cups, right? And this is not like years ago. This is probably like
this to the baby. That was the baby kids. Like they kids, and she was snapping.
Look, I'm like, I get y'all stuff. Leave my stuff alone. Yeah, this is like recently, y'all. Probably like I haven't gotten those since before like COVID though, for real.
Right.
Yeah, because I was going, when I say that's probably what made me susceptible to it, because I was eating a lot of it and it weakened my immune system, and the V8 caught me, y'all. So but yeah, definitely you can Google that, and I'll share some of them today. But yeah, fast food places smell like funeral homes.
Cool.
Don't they though?
Wait a minute, man.
Yeah,
Come
they
on,
do.
Man.
Like, see, people
that's hard, man.
No,
you gotta say funeral home. You could say funeral
but
home,
listen,
bro.
listen.
That's a hard saying.
Aren't fast food places funeral homes though? They are, because they are cooking flesh. That's exactly. It ain't heartless. We just saying.
Be more kinder than that, ma'am, or whoever said it, please. Yeah.
Some people still
make people hurt,
working out their soul salvation.
Hey man, don't talk about everybody like that.
Don't talk about everybody like that. Some people still working to be fully plant-based, right? So those people would like people to be a little more kinder in the way they explain some things.
Talk about me in front of my face. You wait till I go upstairs and talk about me behind my back.
Why do that? It's fun so you can hear, so you can engage. Listen, okay, y'all, let's go back to this. All right, but yeah. Key, hey girl, hey. All right, let's go back to this. Hold on. Let's go back to verse 28. You going back upstairs? Yeah. You don't want to hear this part? My husband is still working out his soul salvation, putting all the meats and stuff away, right? He getting better. He is really getting better. Because even last night, he was like, man, he said, I'm going to have to give this up soon. And here's what he said. It was so funny. He said, I'm trying my hardest to hang on to this. He said, but I just feel like I really got to give it up. I'm like, okay, husband. All right, you moving day by day. You getting better. He couldn't even finish what he was eating, right? I'm like, okay. He moving along. Okay, you ain't gotta knock people over their head, right? When truth just surrounds them all the time, right? And they taste a little bit of the goodness, like plant-based dishes and stuff, like, oh, that is really good. I think I really could give it up, right? They'll make the decision on their own. You ain't gotta make people do stuff. They'll make the decision, right? They just gotta get a little taste of what's good, right? Okay. Verse 28, page 676. O man of the earth, consider what thou puttest into thy mouth, for the atmosphere thereof is the food of thy spirit, and the habit thereof will be entailed on thy spirit for a long season after thy mortal death. If thou hast been a gross feeder on flesh, thy spirit will seek to linger in the atmosphere of gross feeders still dwelling on the earth. The slaughterhouse and the cookhouse and the eating house shall be the places of thy spirit's resort. And thy spirit shall feed therein and thereon. And thy companions shall be millions and millions of druhas, like vultures that flock to a dead carcass, and thou cannot away. That's what it said. And thou cannot away, or thou cannot pull thyself away, right? You're going to be caught up in it. And thy spirit shall feed therein and thereon, and thy companions shall be millions and millions of Druhas, like vultures that flock to a dead carcass, and thou cannot away. Like a lodestone, like a lodestone are these haunts to the spirits of darkness. O man, I have heard thee in thy fullness say, hey, little naked boy. Listen, we get a preview of what is to come. Toddlers and Druhas are like the same thing. Running through your house naked, they don't like to be clothed. Like, we get a preview of all this stuff. We got to teach them. We got to help raise them up. Don't come through here naked, running like, yeah, y'all heard the feet? That's what it sounds like. And if you can tune in to the spirit, get on that right frequency, you can hear little feet of Druhas running through your house. especially if you cook out every weekend. Oh, they there. They are there. I'm telling you. Listen, let me just go back to 29 just because I want to. If thou hast been a gross feeder on flesh, thy spirit will seek to linger in the atmosphere of gross feeders still dwelling on the earth. The slaughterhouse and the cookhouse and the eating house shall be the places of thy spirit's resort. And thy spirit shall feed therein and thereon, and thy companions shall be millions and millions of Druhas, like vultures that flock to a dead carcass, and thou cannot away. Like a lodestone are these haunts to the spirits of darkness. O man, I have heard thee in thy fullness say, I must have my flesh food. I must have my wine and beer and tobacco and opium. Ooh, they getting everybody now. Ooh. Oh man, I have heard thee in thy fullness say, I must have my flesh food. I must have my wine and beer and tobacco and opium. I say unto thee, if thou hast not strength in this day, neither shalt thou have strength tomorrow. What strength shalt thou gain? What strength shalt thou gain by the loss of thy corporal body? Consider thy corporal body as a ship in which thy spirit is sailing across a wide sea of water. Better that thy spirit learn to acquire strength whilst it has a corporal body to ride in. After death, it floateth in the direction thou hast shaped it. Neither hast thou the power to go against the current. Oh my goodness. Listen, remember how I said our bodies ground us? Yo, look, and when you get out there, if you didn't learn how to do these things while you had your flesh, like when you get out there, it's going to be hard to go against the grain. Like it just said over here, your spirit is going to flock to the slaughterhouses and where meat is being cooked, and thou cannot away. Like you will not be able to pull yourself away because you've developed yourself on that frequency, and wherever that frequency is, that's where you will be, right? Let me just go back. Let me just go back again to 29, just in case you stepped out or you dozed off. Just one more time. Listen. If thou hast been a gross feeder on flesh, thy spirit will seek to linger in the atmosphere of gross feeders till dwelling on the earth. The slaughterhouse and the cookhouse and the eating house shall be the places of thy spirit's resort, and thy spirit shall feed therein and thereon, and thy companions shall be millions and millions of Druhas, like vultures that flock to a dead carcass, and thou cannot away. Like a lodestone are these haunts to the spirits of darkness. O man, I have heard thee in thy fullness say, I must have my flesh food. I must have my wine and beer and tobacco and opium. I say unto thee, if thou hast not strength in this day, neither shalt thou have strength tomorrow. What strength shalt thou gain by the loss of thy corporal body? Consider thy corporal body as a ship in which thy spirit is sailing across a wide sea of water. Better that thy spirit learn to acquire strength while it has a corporal body to ride in. After death, it floateth in the direction thou hast shaped it, neither hast thou power to go against the current. Ooh. Yo, if that don't make you just sit down and think just a little bit and at least try and put a plan together on how you're going to wean yourself, write it down, do whatever you got to do. Go check yourself into some type of rehab or something, right? Because we're going to die one day. We're going to die one day, and we had better do all that we can do now while we can to kind of ensure we don't get stuck here. The most we can do to make sure we ain't stuck here, right? Remember, O man, these are the lessons of thy Creator, which he gave unto thee to learn to master the elements of thy surrounding. Stretch forth thy hand unto thy Creator, and swear thou unto him, thou wilt conquer every passion that is unclean and every habit not conducive to the purity of the growth of thy spirit. Father, we promise. We're going to do all that is within our power to free ourselves from all vices, even these Reese cups that keep calling my name. I got one sitting on the nightstand right now. I'm just confess my sins to the brethren and sister. I got a king size Reese cup sitting on my nightstand. Oh, Father, help me. Look, let me read this again. I'm going to read this again for me. I say unto thee, if thou hast not strength in this day, neither shalt thou have strength tomorrow. What strength shalt thou gain by the loss of thy corporal body? Consider thy corporal body as a ship in which thy spirit is sailing across a wide sea of water. Better that thy spirit learn to acquire strength while it has a corporal body to ride in. After death, it floateth in the direction thou hast shaped it, neither has thy power to go against the current. Remember, O man, these are the lessons of thy Creator, which he gave unto thee, to learn to master the elements of thy surrounding. Stretch forth thy hand unto the Creator. Everybody, reading it again. Everybody, stretch forth their hand to the Creator. Stretch forth thy hand, both of them. Stretch forth thy hand unto the Creator, and swear unto him, thou wilt conquer every passion that is unclean and every habit not conducive to the purity of the growth of thy spirit. Father, we promise. This is the beginning of thy resurrection, and thou shalt be thy own judge and master. Neither shalt thou call out, God, God, exalt my soul, or, O Lord, save me and raise me up, until thou hast first begun to do something for thyself. Yo, he said, don't call nobody. Once you start doing something yourself, then we'll look in your direction. Listen. This is the beginning of thy resurrection, and thou shalt be thy own judge and master. Neither shalt thou call out, God, God, exalt my soul, or, O Lord, save me and raise me up, until thou hast first begun to do something for thyself. We can't bypass that without highlighting it. Woo, boy. I ain't talking to nobody else. I'm talking to myself. Shoot, even with my own habits of getting out here in my whole little gym we got in my garage. Now we got our house. I ain't got, oh man, I don't feel like getting out here going to the Y driving. I got to bring all the kids and then the daycare going to be closed. Now I ain't got no excuse. And that equipment is still sitting out there calling my name, Pamela Denise Murphy. What is your excuse today? Oh my gosh. I was about to say, help me. But I'm like, girl, get yourself together. Look, y'all, this eating me up. Okay, listen. This is the beginning of thy resurrection, and thou shalt be thy own judge and master. Neither shalt thou call out, God, God, exalt my soul, Or, O Lord, save me and raise me up until thou hast first begun to do something for thyself. Whew. Oh, that thou knew where the virtue of prayer beginneth, and that he that practiceth the all highest he knoweth hath an ear and the hand of his God, wherein the prayers of the righteous wherein the prayers of the righteous accomplish, while the prayer of the ungodlike is void as the wind. Look, Trent, candy in the kitchen trash. I know, right? Look, sheesh. Oh my goodness. Oh, that thou knew where the virtue of prayer beginneth. That, hold on, y'all. This is amazing. Oh, that thou knew where the virtue of prayer beginneth, and that he that practiceth the all highest he knoweth hath the ear and the hand of his God, wherein the prayers of the righteous accomplish, whilst the prayer of the ungodlike is void as the wind. Certain men were down in a deep well, and they laid down and shut their eyes and prayed to be taken up, yet they would not even raise their eyes to look upward. And and they laid down and shut their eyes. After shut their eyes is reference number 22. And 22 at the bottom says, and they laid flat down on their bellies and prayed. Okay, I'll read the whole verse again. Verse 39, we're on page 677 in chapter 13 of the book of Judgment. Verse 39. Certain men were down in a deep well, and they laid down and shut their eyes and prayed to be taken up, yet they would not even raise their eyes to look upward. And others at the top of the well let down ropes, and they called down to them beneath to look up and catch the ropes, but they would not. And in course of time, they at the bottom said, alas, our prayers are not answered. O man, that thou wouldest put thyself in the way of thy God, to put away the uncleanliness of thy body first, and the uncleanliness of the spirit afterward, to seek for things that are pure and good, instead of criticisms and philosophies that rise up out of thy contaminated flesh house. Let me read it again. Verse 40. O man, that thou wouldest put thyself in the way of thy God, to put away the uncleanness of the body first, and the uncleanness of thy spirit afterward, to seek for things that are pure and good, instead of criticisms and philosophies that rise up out of thy contaminated flesh house. Whoso desireth resurrection, let him begin to resurrect himself. Make not thy confessions which are betwixt thee and thy Creator before men, but covenant thou with him within thine own soul, saying nothing of this for the laudation of men. So what it's saying, what you gonna do? You talk to the Creator, and you do, and you keep your promises to him. Make not thy confessions which are betwixt thee and thy Creator before men, but covenant thou with him within thine own soul, saying nothing for this. Saying nothing of this for the laudation of men. Thy spirit is as a seed of a beautiful tree, which thy Creator planted. Give thou it good light and a clean soil, that the blossoms and the fruit thereon may glorify thy Creator and thee. Such is the resurrection of the spirit of men. Wait not for a Savior to save thee, nor depend thou on words or prayers, nor on hearkening to good sermons, flattering thyself thou hast done well, but begin to save thyself by purifying thy flesh, by purifying thy thoughts, and by the practice of good works done unto others with all thy wisdom, love, and strength. For through these only is there any resurrection for thee, either in this world or the next. Oh my gosh, this whole chapter should be lit up. No, the whole book of Judgment should be highlighted up. Did I say that right? Proper English? Should be highlighted. Highlight the whole chapter. Highlight the whole book. Well, y'all, that's so good. Hold on. Selah. Shalom, shalom, peace, family. All right, y'all. Chapter 14, where we at? We're at an hour, but it's Saturday. We can keep going for a little while. Hold on. I think it's what? I numbered the chapters. I think it's like 30 something chapters. Where we at? Yeah, we're gonna be here for a few more days. Book of Judgment. It's 39 chapters. I number ahead of time, and I double check myself, make sure I ain't get the numbers mixed up. Okay. Chapter 14, page 677. Of the foundations of the resurrections of thy God, there are two kinds, one which dealeth with those already born, and the other with such as are not yet born. For after thou hast purified thyself as to flesh and spirit, two conditions are open to thee: celibacy and marriage. Ooh, this about to be a good chapter. I'm already on the marriage side, so might be somebody on the celibacy side. Let us know how that's working out for y'all. For after thou hast purified thyself as to flesh and spirit, two conditions are open to thee: celibacy and marriage. To such as are by nature inclined to celibacy, let them rejoice. For in not having offspring, they shall have less bondage after death to remain in the lower heavens and to return to the earth to their kindred. That's good. I mean, okay, I can see that, right? Because we learned in previous chapters that a lot of people returning to their mortal kindred, those who are still living. And I forget exactly where, but if you led your family astray, it's still incumbent upon you. It's still your responsibility to make sure that they are raised up, so they can walk in the ways of light before you can even continue to rise, right? I forget exactly where that was. If somebody remember what that is, please put it in there. I would like to go back and read that in its full context again. Okay. To such as are by nature inclined to celibacy, let them rejoice. For in not having offspring, they have less bondage after death to remain in the lower heavens and to return to the earth to their kindred. It is a great glory for them. Excuse me. It is a great glory for them to make themselves brides and bridegrooms to the great Spirit, to be his for righteousness' sake. But as to thee who desireth marriage, pursue thou the same course as to purity and holiness of person, as to thine own resurrection. For in this thou shalt be graded also, according to what thou dost. What thou DOS, yeah, DOS. What you doing? You can be graded according to what you're doing. The delight of thy God, who have dominion over both the earth and her heavens, is to witness the birth of such as come from the pure in flesh and pure in spirit. Oh, that's good. I'm gonna read that again. Verse 7. The delight of thy God, who hath dominion over both the earth and her heavens, is to witness the birth of such as come from the pure in flesh and pure in spirit. In likeness of the father and mother are all children born into the world, and every child is a new creation, quickened into life by the presence of the Creator, who is the all life. If thou art pure in flesh, thy children shall be pure. And if thou art pure in spirit, thy child shall be pure in spirit. If thou art a flesh eater, a drinker of strong drink, and a user of narcotics, thy child shall come forth with thy contaminations upon it. Wow. Consider then what thy grade shall be, which shall be according to thy heirs, as to their grade in the place where they are born. As to whether thou encumberest the world with progeny lower in grade, or liftest up the world by progeny of an exalted grade. Be wise as to the selection of thy partner, as to purity and righteousness. But be not deceived by such as eat not flesh merely, for the purification of the corporal body is but half the matter. Look for one who is pure in spirit, right? So make sure you getting a plant-based eater and somebody who is also pure in spirit when you're looking for your mate, right? Some of us kind of come into it not knowing this, and they doing something, our mates and us, we doing some of everything, right? Blessed be the most holy that he cleanses us up along the way and invites us to learn about the truth. And now we can be responsible and clean up the messes, right? Okay. Whoso is pure in flesh and in spirit shall bring forth heirs unto resurrection, which shall be little or no bondage to the spirit after death. That's good. But whoso marrieth for the earth only shall bring forth heirs of bondage and profligacy. Did I say that right? Profligacy. And profligacy and debauchery and sin shall come upon the heirs of that marriage. I'm going to read it again. Verse 14, page 678. But whoso marrieth for the earth only shall bring forth heirs of bondage, and profligacy and debauchery and sin shall come upon the heirs of that marriage. The spirits of such fathers and mothers shall fall in the graves in heaven, and long will be their bondage in Hada. Flesh eaters seek their partners according to the impulse of the flesh, as to the temptation thereof, or according to riches or case, all of which are earthly considerations and for themselves only, and in no regard as to what their heirs will be. And their offspring come forth in darkness. They are void of suez, void of heavenly aspiration, and dumb as to the voice of the Creator. Right? So they are void of suez, meaning they can't hear spiritually, right? Or can't see. Okay. Let me go back and read that again. Verse 16. Flesh eaters seek their partners according to the impulse of the flesh, as to the temptation thereof, or according to riches or caste. Case meaning like the standing, your class, upper class, lower class, the case. Okay. Flesh eaters seek their partners according to the impulse of the flesh, as to the temptation thereof, or according to riches or caste, all of which are earthly considerations and for themselves only, and in no regard as to what their heirs will be. And their offspring come forth in darkness, and their offspring come forth in darkness. They are void of suez, void of heavenly aspiration, and dumb as to the voice of the Creator. They go about saying, I see no all person, I hear not the unseen. Nay, I believe not that any man hath seen or heard him. Herein was it revealed to thee of old. Some are born of the beast, and some are born of the spirit, which I declare unto thee, O man, is the interpretation. Excuse me. Hold on, I need some water. Sorry, y'all. All right. Verse 19. Herein was it revealed to thee of old. Some are born of the beast, and some are born of the spirit, which I declare unto thee, O man, is the interpretation of all the poverty and crime and war and licentiousness there is in the world. This is the fountainhead which thy God would bring to the understanding of all people. But there are many, even hundreds of millions, that cannot be made to appreciate this. Nevertheless, the kingdom of peace and righteousness shall not cover the earth over until this is understood by all men and women. Wow. Whoso understandeth this, let him wed accordingly, and let such people be as societies to themselves. In this day, no mark of circumcision is required, but men and women shall converse on the ways of the Creator understandingly. And when thou hast children born unto thee, thou shalt more consider the place of thy habitation as to temptation than thy dominion over them. To dwell in a city which is full of iniquity, thou shalt be a tyrant. Thou shalt be a tyrant over thy heirs, restraining them from liberty in order to keep them from vice. I get that. I get that. Okay, let me read that again. To dwell in a city which is full of iniquity, thou shalt be a tyrant over thy heirs, restraining them from liberty in order to keep them from vice. And in this thou will also be a sin. And in this thou will be a sinner also. Okay. Okay. All right. So what it's saying here, like, not only do you need to carefully choose your mate, but where you decide to live at is really important too. Because if y'all live in a rundown city, okay, if y'all live in a rundown city or a place that's full of crime and all this stuff, you're going to become a tyrant over your family by trying to hold them in bondage, keep them in the house, don't go out there, people getting shot left and right, robberies. Why would you choose to live in a place like that, right? And hold your children, your family in bondage where they got to stay in the house all the time. Find some place in the country. It may cost a little bit more, but I think it's for the well-being of your overall family and their growth, not just here in the flesh, but also spiritually, right? You can have more freedom. Choose wisely where you live. This is good. We can clearly see that here, and we can see that. We can see that. We can relate to that. Listen, verse 23. And when thou hast children born unto thee, thou shalt more consider the place of thy habitation as to temptation than thy dominion over them. Yes.
Zay is not giving the iPad.
Tell him I said give it to you. I did not give it to him. To dwell in a city which is full of iniquity, thou shalt be a tyrant over thy heirs, restraining them from liberty in order to keep them from vice. And in this thou wilt be a sinner also. But dwell thou in a place of purity, and give unto them liberty and nobleness. They shall not be thy slaves. In this matter, thou shalt takest upon thyself a new grade according to thy heirs and thy godship over them. Be cautious in thy proceedings. He who created thee alive gave thee no sinful desires, because thou art.
Oh, Bill's playing on my account.
You should not have an account up there. Listen.
That's my account. Now she's trying to play my game.
Give it here. Give it here. Go on upstairs. Go on upstairs. No, because I know I deleted this from here. Y'all go. Go. Ain't nobody getting on it. Move. Don't start, Bella. No, go. Because y'all doing the most. And you doing stuff to pick with them. So, no. Watch out. Verse 26. But dwell thou in a place of purity, and give unto them liberty and nobleness. They shall not be thy slaves. In this matter, thou takest upon thyself a new grade according to thy heirs and thy godship over them. Be cautious in thy proceedings. He who created thee alive gave thee no sinful desires. Because thou art not yet a completed man, these things are. Thou shalt find joy in thy talents and profit in the wisdom of thy God. To perfect thyself is a great glory. To raise up sons and daughters who are also perfect is a tenfold greater glory. For it is the fullness of the life of thy Creator. Read again. For it is the fullness of the life thy Creator gave into thy keeping, which is the glory of heaven and earth. Let's see where we at. Chapter 15. I think we're going to read 2 more chapters and we'll end. We'll stop at the end of 16. Chapter 15, page 678. Of the abundance of thy Creator's creations, be thou appalled, O man. Consider the inhabitants of the whole earth, and the number of 1,000,000,000 brought into every life every 33 years. Compute thou the number for 1,000 years, and for 10,000 years, and yet the earth is not full, and the heavens of the earth are yet even as if scarcely habited. Hurry up. Compute thou the number for 1,000 years and for 10,000 years, and yet the earth is not full, and the heavens of the earth are yet even as if scarcely habited. Thousands of plateaus there are, with no angels to dwell thereon. But to induce the spirits of the dead to rise up from the earth, this is the work and the glory of thy God. To make them put away earthly desires, to become pure and wise and strong and adapted to the sublimated spheres. What an endless labor for thy God and his exalted angels. As thou, O man of the earth, holdest the desire for earthly things, thou entailest thyself in heaven and cannot rise upward. Even so is it with the great harvest, the thousands of millions of angels born of the earth. If thou stand a pyramid, if thou stand a pyramid before thee, wide at the base, equal to the height, such is the matter of the proportions of the spirits of the dead on their entrance into the S world. Consider then, O man, how sparse are the settlements in the upper kingdoms of the earth's heavens compared to the numbers in the lowest grade. And remember thou the percentage of inspiration that cometh to thee from this grade, which is doubly degraded in the cities and great capitals. Know thou, O man, that all cities built by men soon or late fall into destruction. Search into the generations as to the grade of mortals, and thou hast a type of the spirits of that city, chiefly as to the lowest grades. But remember, the highest grades of angels go away, whilst the lowest remain, as the spirits of one generation are to the form of a pyramid, so not will the spirits of that city in the next generation. 20 minutes? Mm-hmm.
Say 30 minutes.
Yeah.
30 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you say? Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right, y'all. So we might have to end after this chapter. We're gonna end after chapter 15. I ain't gonna read 16 today. Know thou, O man, that all cities built by men soon or late fall to destruction. Search into the generations as to the grade of mortals, and thou hast a type of the spirits of that city, chiefly as to the lowest grades. But remember, the highest grades of angels go away, whilst the lowest remain. As the spirits of one generation are the form, are to, I'm sorry, as the spirits of one generation are to the form of a pyramid, so not so will be the spirits of that city in the next generation. But in proportion to the increase of the mortal city, and in proportion to the raising up of the second, third, fourth, and fifth grades, so will be the relative increase in the proportion of Druhas that dwell in that city. I gotta read that again to make sure I understand what in the world I just read. Let me go back to 11. Okay. Know thou, O man, that all cities built by men soon or late fall into destruction. Search into the generations as to the grade of mortals, and thou hast a type of the spirits of that city, chiefly as to the lowest grades. But remember, the highest grades of angels go away, whilst the lowest remain. As the spirits of one generation are to the form of a pyramid, so not so will be the spirits of that city in the next generation. Oh, okay. So what it's saying as okay, they're developing. Okay, they don't look the same. They're a little bit more. Uh, They've increased in understanding each generation. Okay. But remember, the highest grades of angels go away, whilst the lowest remain. As the spirits of one generation are to the form of a pyramid, so not so will be the spirits of that city in the next generation. But in proportion to the increase of the mortal city, and in proportion to the raising up of the second, third, fourth, and fifth grades, so will be the relative increase in the proportion of Druhas that dwell in that city. What? Okay, chill out. We'll get that in a second. Verse 13. And in time all holiness passeth away therefrom, and when thy God abandoneth that city for a day, taking hence his holy angels, the people fall into anarchy, or run with brands of fire and burn down the city. And the hundreds of millions of Druhas lose their anchorage on the earth, and thy God and his exalted ones march them away. Find thou the grade and the rate of declension of the mortals of a city, and when the whole number with the spirits therein have fallen to 1%, thou shalt prophesy the time of the fall of that city. Okay, I get it. Be thou fearful of the abundance of Druhas about thee, and search out thine own imperfections and uncleanliness, and thy passions, lest Druhas fasten upon thee in a way thou knowest not of. Y'all, come on. Go. Y'all getting loud. I'm almost done. Go. I'll look at it when I'm done. Go. Verse 17. Call not upon the spirits of the dead to come to thee, but call thou on thy Creator for wisdom and light and truth and purity. And if it will be well for thee, he will send unto thee such spirits as are best adapted to thee for thy resurrection. Whoso consulteth the spirits as to earthly things, or profit, or great undertakings, or marriage, or war, or riches, is already in the hands of Druhas. Woe be unto him in the hour of death. They're coming for you, G. They're going to take you to where your spirit has been tuned to their abode. Let me go back to 17. Listen. Call not upon the spirits of the dead to come to thee, but call thou on thy Creator for wisdom and light and truth and purity. And if it will be well for thee, he will send unto thee such spirits as are best adapted to thee for thy resurrection. Whoso consulteth the spirits as to earthly things, or profit, or great undertakings, or marriage, or war, or riches, is already in the hands of Druhas. Woe be unto him in the hour of death. When thou sittest in communion with angels, do so reverently to thy Creator, and the members of thy circle shall pray unto him, or sing songs of praise and glory unto him and his works. Nor shalt thou habit thyself to sit with such as do not this reverence to Jehovah. And when the angels appear and converse with thee, remember thou that even the least of them hath passed the bars of death. Be not long faced or melancholy with doleful songs, but rather cheerful, like the birds that sing unto the Creator. And let thy speech be respectful and relating to spiritual things. Learn thou from them of the places they inhabit in heaven, and the manner of their occupations. And if thou inquire of them as to earthly things, let it be as to how thou mayest help the poor and distressed. I got 3 verses left, Mr. Murphy.
All right, I'm almost on it. Mm-hmm.
For if the angel that talketh with thee be a druge only, thy discourse shall in this way awake him to see his own shortness. And if they be high raised angels, they shall understand the working of thy soul, and they will provide unto thee for thy everlasting exaltation. Be upright before thy Creator and thy God, who know thy weakness, Emulate them in all thy doings, for this is the way of resurrection, worlds without end. And that is so beautiful. Listen, I gotta go back. Hold on. All of this. I love this book. All of this. All of these parts. Okay, beautiful people. Thank y'all for hanging out. Let me see. Put my page number 679. That was chapters 12 through 15. All right, beautiful people. It is Saturday, October the 1st, 2022, day 227 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1245. Today, we read in Oahspe the book of Judgment, chapters 12 through 15, which is found on page 675 to pages 679. All right. And Father, we thank you for that was kind of what I was about to say was about to be selfish. Okay, let me see. Hold on. I gotta reword it because it can't stop playing behind me.
I'm giving praise and honor.
Okay. You think of okay, give me a praise today for the creator, babe. Go ahead. You since you're giving praise and honor, go ahead. Make it loud. Go ahead. It had what?
It's awesome.
He just awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, we go with that.
How can we put words?
Right, I know, right?
Come on, man. How could
He's just
we?
awesome.
How could we?
How could we?
Come on.
All right, y'all. He's just awesome. All right, I love y'all. I will see y'all back here tomorrow morning, 7:30. No, wait, yeah, we here because it's a new Sabbath, right? He get ended.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll be back here tomorrow, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bruce, go ahead and take us out of here, Mr. Josiah. Love y'all. She Bruce. Love you, sis.
Job.
Okay.
Elijah. Yeah, I got